The story of the animes saving 80,000 gold for my retirement in another world is a smart and practical take on the stuck-in-a-fantasy world genre. Instead of focusing on becoming a hero or learning legendary magic, the main character, Mitsuha Yamano, focuses on money and logistics. The world building is based on a simple but clever idea. Mitsuha has the ability to travel back and forth between our modern world and a medieval fantasy realm. Because of this, she can bring modern technology, mass-produced goods, and advanced tactical knowledge into a world that is still stuck in the past. This creates a story where the main battles aren't fought with powerful spells, but with smart business deals, supply chains, and superior modern strategy. The fantasy world she enters is struggling with war and scarcity, and by introducing things like medicine, basic tools, and better tactics, she completely flips the balance of power, forcing the local kingdoms to change how they do business and how they fight. At the center of this story is Mitsuha, a young woman whose personality is shaped by a terrible, lonely tragedy. After losing her entire family in a sudden accident, she is left feeling incredibly insecure and scared of being alone.
This deep grief makes her obsessed with the idea of securing a massive amount of money so that she can be safe and independent for the rest of her life. Her main goal is to save up 80,000 gold coins, which she believes will be enough to provide her with complete security in her homeworld. Her struggle is a constant drive to prepare for the worst, which makes her prioritise money and personal stability above everything else. As the story goes on, she goes through a slow transformation. She starts out trying to be a selfish, independent businesswoman, but the relationships she builds with the people in the fantasy world force her to realise that she can't just ignore the rest of the world. She has to deal with the guilt of using a primitive society for her own profit, while also feeling the weight of the lives she is changing and protecting. The villains in this story are the people who try to get in Mitsuha's way, such as greedy warlords, corrupt nobles, and empires that want to steal resources. These bad guys are motivated by traditional, old-fashioned goals, like taking over land, controlling trade routes, and getting as rich as possible.
Their way of doing things is the exact opposite of Mitsuha's. While she wants to make everything run efficiently and build a long-term business, they're still using outdated methods of war and exploitation. They serve as a reflection of what Mitsuha might have become if she had stayed purely greedy, but they're at a disadvantage because they don't have her modern knowledge or foresight. This forces Mitsuha to act as a disruptor, using her knowledge of history and modern warfare to outsmart leaders who are still fighting with swords and shields, turning every encounter into a game of chess against opponents who are already losing. The political world of the story is a fragile network of kingdoms that are constantly threatened by monsters and rival countries. The plot is driven by how Mitsuha's presence creates massive ripples in this world. Every time she brings in a new product or introduces a new way of doing business, it causes a shock to the local markets and changes how kingdoms handle their soldiers. This setup keeps the tension high because she isn't just worried about monsters, she has to deal with the political fallout of her own influence. As she climbs the social ladder and becomes wealthier, she attracts the wrong kind of attention, forcing her to expand her business and become a major political player on a global scale just to keep her interests safe.
The way the story moves forward is steady and methodical, starting with Mitsuha just trying to make a little money to survive, and eventually growing into a massive operation that affects the entire continent. The series uses small episodic problems, like solving a trade dispute, avoiding an assassination attempt, or helping with a minor military skirmish, to show how her business strategies work. These smaller events build a strong foundation for the larger, more dangerous problems she faces later. The progression feels natural, moving from Mitsuha acting as a lone wolf to becoming a necessary consultant for royalty. By the time the story reaches its high-stakes climax, all the work she did to earn money has tied her fate directly to the future of the kingdom. Every gold coin she saves brings her closer to her goal, but it also makes her more responsible for the world she is transforming. Visually, the show uses a simple, clean style that contrasts the grimy, unrefined nature of the fantasy world with the efficient, sterile look of modern Japan. The way scenes are framed often emphasises Mitsuha's role as an outsider who is slowly changing everything around her to fit her needs. The action scenes aren't focused on cool magic tricks, they are focused on the brutal and effective use of modern tactics.
When Mitsuha is alone, the camera uses long shots of the vast, empty landscape to highlight her loneliness and the fact that her obsession with money is just a way to hide her fear of being alone. These quiet moments help the viewer understand that underneath her confidence and wealth, she is still a person who is struggling with a lot of loss. The sound design is important for highlighting the show's focus on business and logistics. The music is generally light and upbeat, especially when Mitsuha is making a good deal or coming up with a smart plan. However, when things get serious, the music shifts to a more tense and grounded tone, reminding the viewer that there are real moral consequences to her actions. The show also does a great job of using ambient sounds to contrast the two worlds she lives in, the loud, constant noise of a modern city versus the quiet, primitive silence of the fantasy wilderness. This sound choice helps keep the viewer aware of how different the two worlds are and how stressful it is for Mitsuha to balance both of them. In the end, the series asks Mitsuha to let go of her dream of staying perfectly isolated and safe.
The final change she goes through is realising that you cannot buy true security with gold. Instead, she finds that her real safety comes from the messy, genuine connection she has built with the people in the fantasy realm. She has to give up her goal of being just a neutral observer and accept the role of a leader who is responsible for the lives of others. The conclusion shows that while she might have reached her financial goal, the real value she has earned is not in her bank account, but in the stability and progress she has brought to an entire civilization. Her journey ends with the understanding that even if you build a life based on the desire for total safety, you are always vulnerable, and the best way to protect yourself is to make sure the people around you are safe and prosperous.